Joining me first in the studio to discuss the possibility of more strikes up and down the country is Christina McNee, the General Secretary of the country's biggest union, Unison. What can this new government expect from Unison, Christina?
Well, I'd first of all like to congratulate Liz Truss on getting elected. I think it's about time we had the government back. At least I hope that will happen quickly, since we've had the whole summer when nothing happened. You've missed it over the
summer.
Which I think is quite extraordinary. What can they expect? I mean, what I'm hoping from her is that the rhetoric that she was putting out there during the election campaign, which was very... she's obviously out there designed to get the vote from the Tory members. But I think she has to remember now that it's not just the 80,000 people who voted for her that she's the Prime Minister for. She's now the Prime Minister for this entire country. And she has to take decisions that affect 66 million people across this country. And for that, I hope she will actually start to engage with people. I mean, I'd be happy to meet with her. I'm sure Frances O'Grady from the TUC would be happy to meet with her. And actually to start thinking about how you revitalise the economy, not by cutting the pay and conditions of working people, but actually by giving them opportunities to go out there and spend money.
We're dealing at the moment with anonymous sources talking about what she might or might not do, so it's difficult. But one of the suggestions is that she's going to look again at workers' rights, things like the 48-hour week, looking at holiday pay and those kind of issues. Now, Boris Johnson was elected and gave very, very clear commitments to sort of standing by workers' rights. He's saying workers' rights in this country would improve rather than go down. Do you assume that she will carry on that trajectory?
No, I don't, and I think we're already hearing that they're going to come after workers' rights. She's already got a very sort of anti-trade union rhetoric going on there, as though somehow we exist in a vacuum. And actually, when you talk about trade unions taking strikes, it's working people who are taking part in strikes or working people who are in disputes over their pay. And we're in a massive crisis where, and if she doesn't tackle the energy crisis, which is the first and foremost thing she has to do, then I know from speaking to the teaching assistants, the healthcare assistants, the nurses, the people who run the emergency 999 call centres, they're the ones who are basically on their knees at this point. And if the energy increases go through, we're talking about people who, after tax, will be paying a quarter of their take-home pay in energy costs. That's not sustainable.
And that is impossible. We can both agree about that. But in terms of the balance that Unison is involved in, you're looking at the higher education sector, as you said, you're looking at healthcare workers, you're looking at nurses and so forth. Are you not concerned a bit that the NHS is absolutely on the edge and this could be the final straw that breaks it?
Absolutely, and that is one of the worries that I know our members have and the people who join Unison. But what I'm also hearing from them, so we're the main union, for example, for ambulance staff, what they're telling me is it's already on its knees. In actual fact, taking part in some kind of industrial action not only will help them get some more money to help them cope, it will actually draw attention to the fact that the health service is in a critical condition at this point in time. I mean, the irony is Liz Truss has talked about introducing legislation to bring in minimum staffing levels, minimum service levels. Well, in the NHS, we've been calling for that for years because we don't have it in the NHS.
So there is a conversation to be had between you. Let me ask you about one other thing. I was talking to Lisa Nandy a second ago about the Labour Party, and there is definitely a kind of a rising level of militancy in the country, not in the Labour Party necessarily, or not just in the Labour Party, but around UK can't pay, when you understand that, and enough is enough, and demands for a wealth tax and mass nationalisation and so forth. What is the Unison view of the way that Keir Starmer, as the Labour leader, should deal with these things?
I think Keir has to keep doing what he's doing, which is to highlight the fact that this is a problem for the government. They have to be the ones that intervene and deal with this. They can't stand back and keep their hands clean and say it's got nothing to do with us, get on and make some agreement. And it's not... Strikes are a symptom of something going fundamentally wrong in a workplace. They're not the cause of or the reason why things are a problem. They're the symptom for these problems. People will only take strike action usually as a last resort. They lose money when they go on strike. They don't want to withdraw their services, but these are legal strikes that people are taking. And I completely understand. We've got to the point where in many of these negotiations, either the negotiations are finished or the employers just won't talk to us, or in the public sector, which is where my union is predominantly, we need government intervention to put more money in.
Up to now, the last few months, been a very unusual situation in Britain, which has had quite a few strikes which have been supported by a majority of the public.
Yeah.
Are you concerned that the longer this goes on, the less likely that is to happen?
I'm not, because I'm talking about in my union. So if we're bringing out NHS workers or local government workers, or it's university support staff that we have in membership, or police support staff, I think the country will understand why they're taking this action and will support them in it.
Christina, thank you very much indeed for coming in and talking to us. Much appreciated. Now then, one of the first policy announcements we could hear from the new